should get started. First of all, welcome. And a brief introduction. My name is Andrew David Hazy, and I taught technical photography at RIT for about 45 years or so. And now I'm trying to find out what I'm going to do with my spare time.
You said RFT?
RIT.
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 Yeah, so I have a sailboat and I have a dog, and that keeps me kind of busy. But this is what I enjoy doing, is sharing technology and photography with my students. But now you guys are my students, okay, for at least an hour or so. Photography is kind of a weird profession, occupation, or whatever, because in a way, because it's mostly associated with some kind of art application. And yet, some of the biggest discoveries and advances in science and technology are a direct result of being able to use photography as a tool of visualization and measurement. Some of the pioneers, I think, are well known in the field, such as Harold Edgerton, and he's a luminary in the field of electronic flash photography and high-speed photography. How many of you are familiar with his name? Well, you should look him up. Historical figure that is responsible for the flashes that go off every time you take a flash photograph, or the beacons that you see all over airports and towers and so on. If it's electronic flash or a stroboscope, Harold Edgerton has got to be credited for developing it. He didn't invent it, but he popularized it and spread the word about it. He was also a great speaker. I had the great fortune of following him at a presentation. But you don't want to do that. You want to choose your previous speaker carefully. You don't want to go after a hotshot speaker, and he will. So anyway, the objective here is to try to show you some situations where photography can be used for something other than an artistic application. And sort of thinking about Edgerton, he specialized in visualizing things that are, some people call invisible to the eye. And events and physical phenomena are invisible for a variety of reasons. They could be operating, there could be in an area of the spectrum that we can't see. The typical applications, say, in ultraviolet and infrared photography. All those ultraviolet and infrared we can't see, but there are photographic tools that allow us to visualize it to fairly acceptable results. I mean, X-rays and so on. They're all imaging tools. In a way, they're connected to photography. I'm not sure how many of you have made photograms in your life. Anybody? Okay, photograms. No, they're very similar to X-rays. Think about it, right? But we're going to leave that aside. Things are invisible for other reasons too. They're too far, or they're too small. So astronomy and microscopy are both related to making visible things that are invisible. And to cut to the quick here, events are also invisible because they happen too quickly. Our eyes can only perceive action that happens over a reasonable time frame. If they happen too quickly, as far as we know, something was there and then it wasn't. What happened in between? I improvise sort of as I go along. And Edgerton is another person, still a person that comes up with this. Public TV had a program on nuclear blast the other day. Well, how are you going to visualize what happens the first picosecond or nanosecond of that explosion? It's not ignorant people that allow you to visualize those things. it takes a certain degree of insight and knowledge and engineering and technology and science in order to be able to do that. And but ultimately, it's still photography. These days, there's this big digital revolution. Well, digital this, digital that. You know, it's interesting that anything that photography was before digital didn't exist. So the history of photography started with digital cameras. Well, you know, a lot of things have been done on film before the digital revolution came around. So digital is just another tool, just another way of storing images that are formed by a lens onto some sensitive surface. You eliminate the darkroom, but it's still a basic photograph. So what I'd like to do, I think, well, not like to, I am going to do it, is to demonstrate how one approach to visualization and so on can be used to determine how long something lasts. So what we want is something that lasts a short time. Okay? Well, what lasts a short time? An eye blink. And, well, I have a bunch of yellow balloons here. And so we'll see when this balloon does something that lasts a short time. I used to be able to do this just by blowing up on it. And my lungs are giving up. So I'm going to use a little aid here. I'm getting tired. This is just a demo. So far, nothing too fast has happened, right? You saw how the balloon inflated and so on. And so I used to do this part of the demonstration unexpectedly, but I think you know what's going to happen here. And so I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to pop this balloon. Because when I didn't give warning, you know, elbows would go flying, women would scream, and people would walk out the room, etc. So here we go. I'm going to break this balloon somehow or another. All right. So this is remnants of the balloon. And before we had the balloon there, how long did it take that balloon to break? You know, that's now a quantitative question. And how are we going to do it? Well, there are sophisticated ways of doing it, expensive ways of doing it, and the way that we're going to do it is to rely on some basic principles that we already should know. And photography. So we're going to make a picture of a balloon. Pop it. Now, how do we do that? Well, we have a couple of problems when we decide to do this. And maybe some of you can tell me what they are. What kind of a problem will we have making this picture?
Capturing the exact moment that it...
Timing, right? Synchronization.
Position.
And what?
Position. Making sure that you're in the frame.
Yeah, you're right.
Focus?
That's not a big problem, right?
No.
We use a wide angle lens or something. Come on, move. I want to make it big. Is that big enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Come here.
You can relax.
Oh, so we have a problem. The problem is finding out how long it takes this balloon to burst once we poke the hole in it. And we have, it's already been mentioned, we have a synchronization problem. Balloons like to fly around. Put it over here. Put it over here. And now we realize we have a synchronization problem. We're going to take a picture of it. So we do the photographic thing, right? Aim it, as you suggested, right? put it in the frame. And now we imagine we got a couple of people, okay? One of them is going to push the knife into the balloon, the other one's going to have to activate the camera shutter. So what else do you infer or predict is going to be a problem? Well, first of all, how long do you think it takes the balloon to break, to disappear?
Fraction of a second.
Fraction of a second. Yeah, that's pretty good. How much of a fraction?
Nano.
A nanosecond. Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
However, it'll take a short
A
time.
millisecond.
Okay? Yeah, millisecond is, you start to approach, I think, an approximation. If I tell you it takes about a 500th of a second to break. So how do you know that? Well, first of all, we're going to take a picture of the balloon. And one person opens the shutter, the other one pokes or fires the camera, the other one pokes the balloon. Oh, and where's Elle? Yeah. She's going to help me put this image on the screen. So I do this, you know, no tricks up my sleeve or anything. You can see exactly what comes out of the camera. And if it's overexposed, we change something. If it's underexposed, the basic photographic things. Now there should be nothing on there other than that. So if we take two people, one to take the picture, the other one to pop the balloon, we have a synchronization problem, right? Because there's no way somebody's going to activate the shutter in time after this balloon has started to break. So we need some help. Want some electronic help? Well, you know, these gadgets, remember them, tape recorders? $2 at a garage sale or something. But they have a significant aid built into them. They have the capability of changing sound into electricity, right? And they drive a speaker or whatever, or they drive the magnets that do something to the tape and so on. And that bit of electricity that they produce can be used to trigger an electronic switch, triac or an SCR. This happens to be an SCR. It happens to be right here. There's a, people might call it a transistor. It's called a specific type of a transistor, an SCR, silicon control rectifier. It's a switch. And that's plugged into the microphone output of this tape recorder. Well, when the tape recorder is running, it picks up sound, okay, with the microphone. And when sound gets high enough, it causes that switch to close. And with that, we can trigger this camera. But that's no good, because when you tell a camera to make a picture, it doesn't actually do it instantly, right? It takes about 1/20th of a second, if you're lucky, maybe a little bit less. So between the time that you tell the camera to make a picture and that it actually does, this has disappeared 100 times. So we need something that will react faster than the camera. Not only that, even if the camera could react fast enough, the fastest exposure time, let's assume this, is a 500th of a second on the camera. Well, if this takes a 500th of a second to disappear, and the fastest shutter on the camera is a 500th of a second, how much blur do you think you're going to get? A lot. Right? Because all the time the shutter is open, this is moving. That's no good. We don't want blurry pictures. We want sharp ones. Anybody can make a blurry one. Right? Have you made a blurry photograph? Yeah, I know you have. So we need a shorter exposure time than the camera can deliver, first of all. And then we need to synchronize. So where do you get the shorter exposure time? This is where Harold Edgerton comes in. Yeah, an electronic flash. Electronic flashes have a duration typically of something like a 500th or a 1,000th of a second. It's still pretty long. However, some of them have this power ratio control on them, so that you don't dump the whole capacitor or all the electricity that you have in here into the tube all at once, but you just use a bit of it. That means you get less light, but you also get shorter duration. So at a 64th power, this flash produces a duration of about a 20,000th of a second. Well, 20,000th of a second is quite a bit shorter than a 500th, if you take my word for it. So, but in any case, it's faster. And not only that, the flash reacts almost instantly. Well, you know, there's nothing like instantly. Yeah, everything takes time. Everything takes time. It just depends on how small you want to cut the time, right? So, but within a couple of microseconds, this flash, when you tell it to fire, within a microsecond, a millionth of a second, it says, okay, I'll do it. So now what we do instead of firing the camera, which takes a long time to decide, I'm going to make a picture, we're going to use the flash because it gives us a short duration, and also it reacts very quickly. And the only problem with activating with the tape recorder is that the tape recorder has an automatic volume control. And when there is no sound, it maxes out its volume or recording capability, and it'll respond to very small amounts of sound. Well, this one is not doing it right now, and I have no idea why. However, I brought a backup to this. I just wanted to show you that we can do this.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe now. All right, see, we got something. Right, just what we need. All right, but now we need to, because we're taking the picture by the light of the flash, we need to have a camera ready to make that picture, right? So how do we do that? You just open the shutter, set it on something called a beam, or bulb, or times, or whatever. Just open it. And when it's open, then we pop the balloon, we capture the picture with the camera, with the shutter open, then we close it. The problem is that when you open the camera shutter, the room lights, okay, are starting to make a picture of the balloon. So we have to do this under fairly dark conditions, or do it very quickly. So I'm going to need some assistance here, because
What about stopping down the lens a lot, too?
if you stop the lens down, then you need more light there. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could stop the lens down if you had a brilliant flash over there. But we have a certain amount, and that's what we got to deal with. So let's see what we can do here. In this case, we don't use P or A on the camera, we use manual. Someplace there's manual. And we choose a shutter speed, B. And what that looks like is this. Open, close. And
Is it not?
we should get something up there, right? Oh yeah, we got it. Not only that, it's also fuzzy, right? They're all, come on. Oh, where is it? I want to do this, how about that? So now when we capture a photograph, it'll just stay on the screen as long as it wants. And this was the photograph that we made. When it shows up. And we know, and we see that it's got a couple of problems, right? It's fuzzy. Well, it's not a big problem, right?
Focus.
We got to focus it. So I'm going to take a look in here. Focus it. And that was, the picture that was made, I think it was like 3 seconds or something like that. That's a lot of light there.
You want to turn more
So
on?
we're going to have to do this. Yeah, are you going to help me?
Do you want me to turn more lights off? I can.
Yeah, as many as you can would be useful. And does this still work? Yeah, that's working.
No, you gotta.
Because now, even with the projector on,
Do you,
which we could get rid of, right?
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. Operating in the dark. Okay, Al, you gonna come and help me?
Sure.
So what I'd like you to do is to get on this side of the camera. This is the shutter release button. You have one of these, don't you? Okay. And hold it down. Not right now. Not right now. And you could use somebody to help with this. Well, that's a little too bad.
One light on?
No, it's okay. So what we're going to do is I'll tell you to open the shutter. That means you push down on the button, right? And you hold it down, and then after it's down, I will pop the balloon. And then we'll see what happens.
Do you want me to release it?
And then release it after the balloon pops.
Okay.
So open the shutter. Close it. Okay. And now, we have a little light on so I don't trip on this camera.
Got it.
There we go.
Whoa.
We got a balloon with a hole in it. Okay. It's something that happens so quickly that if somebody were to say to you, well, you know, what does it look like as it's breaking? I don't know. It happened too quickly. So this just proves that we can make a picture with a balloon with a hole in it. Now, but remember, what we're aiming for is to determine how long it takes the balloon to break, to disappear. So I'm going to take another balloon. I should have got this down right.
Yeah. Look that way.
Can I still do it? Is it about as big as that one? Yeah. Okay. Okay, this. Great.
You mean to do it?
We are, no, I got it. We need your help again in a second. Yeah, you can just wait a second. Okay, it's all right. So, this time what we're going to do, why did you disappear? That's weird. So now what we're going to do is explore how we're going to determine how long it takes the balloon to break. What we're going to do is take a photograph a little bit later than this one, a known amount of time later. How do we do that? Introduce some delay. But we want a certain amount of delay. We can base the delay on where we place the microphone, right? The further away you put the microphone from the breaking balloon, the later the flash is going to fire, right? So if we move the microphone about a foot away, right, how much delay do you think we have introduced? We would introduce into the second photograph. Well, if we knew how fast sound travels, right, we could know. Well, how fast do you think sound travels, approximately?
750 miles an hour.
Okay, how many feet per second is that? Because miles are kind of difficult to deal with.
Isn't it 27 meters per second?
How much?
Isn't it 27 meters per second?
27 meters?
Yeah, is that
No, it's like 300 meters.
or 300 meters?
187,000.
It's about, see, you actually were exposed to this. You know when? In elementary school. When the teacher told you that you could determine how far lightning is based on how long it takes you to hear it.
1/1000.
Oh.
So you do the 1/1000, 2/1000. So if you, it turns out if you count to 5, it's about a mile away because it's 5,000 feet, right? So sound travels 5,000 feet in 5 seconds. Well, how long does it take to travel in 1 second? Well, how far will it go? 1,000 feet. So it travels at 1,000 feet a second, give or take a few feet, right? It doesn't matter. So if we move this microphone a foot away from its original position, the microphone will hear sound 1,000th of a second later. And it'll make the photograph 1,000th of a second later. So let's see what that photograph is going to look like. And we'll go back to our air conditioning. Thank you. Okay. Oops, I got to see where this thing is. That's good. Okay, open the shutter. Close it, and we can put the projector back on. Ooh. All right.
Is that my fault?
No, it's your fault, absolutely. Yes. You did everything right. You did everything right. So, here we have these two photographs. Where is the previous one? Is over here.
I think.
Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Okay, here, and here is the previous one. Right? Oops. There's the previous one. This is the next one. All right. So now, remember, our objective is to quantify the behavior of this balloon. We know that the time difference between the two is 1,000th of a second. So when we ask ourselves, well, go backwards again. How much of the balloon has disappeared already? Hell, you're going to be my guinea pig. How much of the balloon has disappeared?
A quarter.
She says a quarter. A quarter of the balloon has gone away. Okay, so now we take a look at the next one.
Half.
How much of the balloon has left?
Half. A quarter.
Boy, she's hard to convince. It doesn't really matter, does it? We're making an estimate. So if a quarter of it is left here, and a quarter was gone at the beginning, how much of a change was there between the two photographs? This time,
Half.
a half. A half the balloon disappeared in how much time? 1,000th of a second. So how long does it take the whole balloon to disappear?
2,000 seconds.
2,000th or
1/102.
a 500th, right? 2 1,000ths or a 500th, same thing. And what did I tell you it takes the balloon to disappear?
500.
500th, right?
So you were right.
Roughly. Now we did it very simply by knowing something about physical world around us. How fast does sound travel? Through the light. And we got a quantitative result. Now you could argue that it takes it a 575th and a quarter seconds. It doesn't matter. If you did this with a high-speed camera or a very sophisticated timing system, you'd still end up someplace in the 500th of a second range. You know? But you've used your head to do this cheaply. We didn't need a super sophisticated high-speed camera to do this, did we? Okay, this time I could use some lights again.
What did you say the name of that transistor was? That
I'll put some material on the conference web with this workshop that'll have articles that describe what you just saw and the circuit and the device and the synchronizer. Now there is a company called HiViz, HIVIZ.com, and they sell synchronizing kits. They're fairly reasonable, $50, $60. And you can buy them anyway. I'm not here to promote HiViz. They're a good friend of mine, but that's not the point. So now we're going to go a little bit further. Let's see. This is one. That's useful. For something.
It's a good thing you're not epileptic.
Right. Yeah, I think we want to do it. You know, right this time, we emphasized the fact that we wanted to get a sharp photograph of a fast-moving event. Sometimes you can get a lot of insight out of events, out of situations, where you do the opposite. And this is what we're going to do this time. So imagine that you are this is on the art side, but you're an art director, a designer, and you are working for the Hong Kong Ping Pong Ball Manufacturing Company. What do they make?
Take a stab at it.
Ping pong balls. Right? Okay, so here's the ping pong ball. Here's the ping pong ball. So, and you are a photographer, and you're told, okay, you know, I'm going to photograph the ping pong ball. So you put the ping pong ball down over here, you put some leaves around it or whatever, and you make a picture of it. Anybody can do that. Some people do it better than others. But that's not what we want to do, because a lot of people know how to do that. So if we take a picture of this ping pong ball, we end up with a nice little round circle, right? Of the ping pong ball. What we're going to do this time, though, is something a little different.
It's gonna
Your
roll off
ball's
the table,
moving.
capture the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Ball's
Gravity.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Stop.
Ah.
More to the right.
Okay. And this time, put a light on here. And Al, I could use your help again. This time it doesn't matter if the light's on or not. And notice I haven't done anything to the camera, right? So I'm not sure what's going to happen here. We're just going to do it. And then we're going to fix any problem that we may have afterwards. So you operate the camera shutter, okay? And open it when I tell you to and close it when I tell you to, okay? Open it. That's okay. Try again. Close it. Well, let's see what our picture looks like. Yeah. Do we have anything?
Yeah.
I can't see it first. All right, way overexposed, right? That's okay, because we're going to take another one, just to prove that we can make a better one. And what do we need to do? We need to
Stop it down a bit.
stop it down. Right. You know how to do it?
What do you want to change?
Anyway,
I got it.
you do?
Yeah.
Put on F11
What was your ISO?
on bulb. I could change the ISO from 400 to
You hold.
100. That'll drop some more.
Yeah, I'm just.
Hold
Oh,
that
that's
down
it.
and do the wheel.
That's it. You were right.
I,
And the button is in the...
it's okay.
So, okay, now let's try this again. You were very good with that light there.
I think it's the proximity.
Yeah. Okay, open. Close. Excellent. Okay, now let's see. Hey, pretty good. Now you might say, well, it's a blurry ping pong ball. But that's not the point. The point is that you can tell that from this bounce to this one, it lost so much height, right? And from here to here, it lost so much height. Now, what is the actual distance that the ball moved, or didn't move, from there to here? Well, if you had introduced a scale, right, you could measure it. But you know what? You don't need a scale. Why? The ping pong ball is the scale, right? So you measure the ball, and you say, well, you know, it's 1.5 inches. And you say, well, how many ping pong balls fit in here? You know, if it's 2, then it's 3 inches worth. So again, you're quantifying the scene, and you know more about this ping pong ball than just the fact that it's a bounce ball and it bounces. You know, and if you have 2 balls, you can see if one bounces better than another. See if the Shanghai ping pong ball company makes better balls than the Hong Kong one, right? Now this starts to become, again, a quantitative application of this. Now, there's another hidden effect here. And notice that the trace is weaker here than it is there. Why?
Speed.
The speed, exactly. The ping pong ball actually becomes its own shutter. Now remember, we set the camera on B. But the ball is here only for a short time, and it's there for even a shorter time. So exposure time here for the moving ball changes as the ball is moving. And if you're really smart, and you wanted to write a PhD dissertation, you could work backwards from the density of this to what the speed of the ball is any place on this curve. I wouldn't recommend you do that. But you could, right? You could imagine, you could do that. All right, so the one thing that we don't know, though, is how fast the ball is moving. So what we're going to do now is take care of that. One thing that we could do is, I think we're going to go right to, well, in a technical application, physics application, besides a camera like this, yeah, you can get them anywhere. I'd suggest you look into one of these. What is it? You haven't seen one. It's a stroboscope. Okay. So a stroboscope has science applications, technology applications, as well as art applications, and social applications, dances and so on. You know, they have the flashing light, and you get weird about it. Big deal. The neat thing is about one of these is that the time between flashes is known, or it's calibrated. And let's see, this thing here, $5,000. Who can afford one of these? Now the social ones and the entertainment kind are less, don't cost as much, but they're not calibrated as well. What I suggest is that instead of one of those flashing lights, is that you take a look at a mechanical stroboscope. Now, what's a mechanical stroboscope? It's this thing here. It's just a disc with a slot in it, and you spin it. And there's a motor back here that kind of spins that black piece of paper with a slot in it. So we can attach this to the camera.
Was it a filter step up attached to it?
A what?
A filter step?
Yes. Okay, and put that there so we can see through it. And now I'll show you what it does. And a 9-volt battery will do it, but I can't think of where it is. So I'm going to use a low power supply, all right? So all we're going to do is generate some volts. Down there. Plug this in someplace where there's power. Over here. And presumably if you give it juice, it starts to turn. And if you give it less juice, it turns slower, right? So now every time that this thing is going past the camera lens, the lens catches a glimpse of what's in front of it. Well, how long of a glimpse? Well, that depends on how big the slot is and how fast this thing is turning. So if the slot is, let's say, 100th of the circumference, of 3.6 degrees, right? In that case, and this is, the exposure time would be 1/100th of what it takes the disc to go around once. So let's see what we can do with this. And this time we probably want to up the ISO a little bit. Okay, and you can help me again. And the light operator there can help me with the light. Now I don't know what's going to happen over here. So again, we'll do it the same as the previous one. We'll do it and then we'll see. Open the shutter. Close it. Okay, lights off. And we should see something on the screen. Okay, pretty good. Now, this one is a little dark, right? But that's okay. We can increase the ISO, we can increase the aperture, and we can get a brighter image. This is a very cheap way of doing stroboscopy. Okay. Now we could let's increase the speed a little bit, and we'll do this again. And we'll also open the aperture, like you said. Here. Maybe there. Okay. All here, and we got a light coming on, and the light's out. Well, actually, we don't need them out, right? Open. Close. Okay, the light's off. And we should see something over here. Okay, well, a little more. So we have a few more images of the ping pong ball. It would have helped if I focused it. That's just a photographic thing, right? But now we can actually determine what the speed of this ball is, average speed, okay, from position to position. We said it's traveling faster at the bottom here, right? Why is it traveling faster here than there?
Gravity.
Yeah, gravity is pulling on it, right? So over there it's slowing down. In fact, instantaneously over there, if there's such a thing, it's standing still. And then it picks up speed, it goes faster and faster, and then it bounces up, and gravity slows it down, and so on. So now we have an interrupted view of the path of the ping pong ball. If we knew what the time between here and here was, we could tell how fast the average rate of that ball is, right? What the average speed is. And if you went into calculus, you could get all these points, and you can actually figure out what the speed is at any point, instantaneously. So, but how do we know what the time is between images of the ping pong ball? You know, if you have the stroboscope, the scientific stroboscope, it's written right on the dial. Here we don't have it. So how do we solve this? Well, what we do, you know, one thing that we never think about is the fact that manufacturers go to a great deal of trouble to make sure that when you set an exposure time, the camera delivers that exposure time, right? So when you set 1 second, I don't know how many people do that, but 1 second, it's going to be 1 second. It's not going to be a second and a half or a half, right? It's going to be 1 second. Now these days with quartz and solid state timing, the shutters on your cameras are very accurate. Unlike the mechanical shutters of old. These are pretty much right on. So, I'm going to need your help again. This time what we're going to do is we're going to set the camera shutter to some speed. So instead of B, we'll choose, what about if we choose a quarter of a second? Okay, light on. And this time, you're going to have to react to me throwing the ball. Okay, so when the ball is bouncing, operate the camera shutter. Okay?
When?
As it's bouncing along, anytime you feel like it.
Okay. Oh, that was not bad. Can we try again?
Yes.
Okay. Don't look
It's amazing the space shuttle took off.
That did work.
Oh, okay, let's try it again. Okay, lights out. Excellent. Okay, so we operated the shutter for a quarter of a second. In that quarter of a second, we got 3 pictures of the ping pong ball. So the time between here, well, actually, there is a little error introduced, right? Because you don't know if there's a little piece here and a little piece there, or this is from end to end. But we took 3 pictures in a quarter of a second. So how many pictures would be taken a whole second?
9.
12.
12.
Right? So the time between images is a 1/12 of a second. Right? Well, now this is pretty good. In a 1/12 of a second, here, it traveled less distance than from here to here. So we know what the average speed of the ball is. Well, how do you know how much it traveled? Well, again, you have the ping pong ball as a scale. the scale is introduced into the picture, and that's the beauty of it. You don't have to have a rule around here. The ping pong ball has a definite size. You measure it, out comes the speed. Okay, could we have the lights on? A student of mine teaches at the University of Arizona, and she said, you know, we're doing presentations for teachers and so on, and I say, oh, this is all well and good, but we can't use it in our classroom because we have a certain curriculum to follow. So what are we going to do with this? I don't know what you're going to do. I hope that you've seen something that you normally don't see when it's attached to photography, okay? And you can store it in the back of your mind, and maybe something will happen. But the stroboscope has many uses. And how? Oh, I'm out of time. Oh, I have a whole bunch of gadgets to share
That's
with
okay,
you.
we got a little leeway.
Yeah. Oh, I'll answer questions.
Who makes the stroboscope? That's $5,000.
Oh, you can't. EG&G. Actually, no. It's General Radio.
But you know, you can buy them on eBay for $50.
Good luck.
And in American?
Because
Make sure you email me when you find one
oh
for
no,
$50.
just go type in stroboscope. You'll see, because the fact is,
I
they made
tried.
a billion.
Cheapest one I seen was like
years.
350.
And they're laying around in laboratories all over the place.
They are. They are. And,
Yeah.
and people don't know what,
Don't know what
how
to do.
powerful those tools are. They can be used in textiles, they can be used in printing, to watch high-speed events in slow motion. Now, if you got one more minute, yes.
How is it programmable? Stroboscope, is it digital
Yes.
control?
In fact, I can actually turn it
No,
on.
the $50 ones have a big knob on it. And it just says thousandths of a second.
Well, the neat thing about this,
I haven't seen it in a while.
I'm looking for one?
I look for everything with a rapid eye. They're just daily.
this mechanical stroboscope actually can outdo the electronic flash one. Because if you're trying to light up, for example, a helicopter blade, rotor blade, this won't work. You have to overcome the sun. This will work. It'll work with continuous light sources. Oh, and we could do a hardy photograph. I'll do that.
Thank you very much. This was
After I do that. Now, watch this. This is Edgerton stuff. So what is it? Well, it's about, I think if you have to go, the door is right up. So what is this? This is a stream of water coming down from a pump that's generating the stream. It's a diaphragm pump. It's actually, it looks like a continuous stream, but it isn't. It is a stream made up of separate drops. To us, it looks like a continuous stream by tungsten light. Now, when we look at this by the light of a stroboscope, that's synchronized to the pump. The true nature of that stream becomes visible.
That's awesome.
Now, you can do the same thing with this mechanical stroboscope. You can look through the rotating slot, and if you make it turn 60 times a second, or even 30, you'll see the same thing. Now, you do need a special pump. A pump that has a diaphragm that sucks up water and squirts it out. Okay, so it's not a turbine type pump, but it's a diaphragm type pump. And notice that the distance here between drops as well as here is kind of small. Now, everyone needs to love this, and I do too. So what we can do is synchronize it. Okay? But now what we can do is change the frequency of the flash. We're not doing anything to the drops. And we can make the flash flash a little bit slower than the drops are being generated. And then the drops appear to go down. Okay, and then we can whistle. We can make the drops appear to go up. So all I'm doing is changing the frequency of the strobe so the time between flashes is a little bit less than the time between the drops. And that makes this beam appear to go up. So we can make action appear to go forward or backward in time. We can stop it at a particular point of interest. Stroboscopes. You gotta love them. You gotta love them. And they're all photographic and imaging related. And tomorrow I guess there'll be a showcase type thing, and I'll have this one and this one at the same time, and you'll be able to prove to yourself that the mechanical stroboscope will do exactly the same thing, and this costs you $5, maybe.
So, your solution is much more clever, but isn't it true that that's an AC motor, that the RPMs are very accurately known? Because it's driven by the 60 cycles.
Yes, right.
Right, so if that motor was an AC motor, you'd know how many RPMs you were doing.
Yeah,
You could
right,
just calculate
but how
exactly.
would you do it with an AC motor, but then you'd like to run it at not 60 RPM, 60 RPS, but you'd like it to maybe run at 40?
I see, you can do
Yeah,
that
you get a
because
problem.
you can just
With
adjust the DC.
with a DC motor,
Yes.
it's kind of simple. Well,
After Edgerton,
yeah.
who else have you studied?
Oh, after Edgerton. Good question. I'm not sure there is any. After that, it became an engineering problem, and the solutions kind of got diffused through the electronics industry. I don't know of anybody that could be assigned somebody, something. Now, in the art field, on the other hand, there were a number of photographers, action photographers for Life magazine. John Neely, for example, worked with electronic flashes that Edgerton had made, and so his pictures got popularized. Edgerton is famous for a number of pictures himself. Milk, the crown of milk is his quintessential one, or a bullet going through a playing card.
Right. In the late 1960s, I was at Southern Illinois University working on my master's degree, and was involved with the scientific darkroom there. And almost identical to that scope you have,
Yeah.
was used to stop motion for the proof that you could compress water.
Really?
All right, what we did is we photographed through a big thick plate,
Uh-huh.
2 plates, separated the plates very rapidly as the strobe was hitting, okay, so we could time it, and you would actually see the water take on a smaller volume than what it was when it was separated 1 molecular layer thick between the 2 plates of glass.
Amazing. See, somebody to follow up on Edgerton right there. I don't
So those kind of studies were being done. That was sponsored
Sure.
by NASA at the time. And those type of studies were continued on. I mean, we were doing studies in using, what do you call it, Schlering lighting,
Sure, sure.
okay, for the motion over the wing foil of supersonic aircraft and those kind of things. And these were the tools we were using.
Absolutely. So I'm just a preacher that tries to remind of old technology. Sure, Schlerin, I do that.
Preaching the
Yeah.
Old Testament.
Yeah. Instrumentation, photo instrumentation is what it's generically called, is really a great field of applied imaging, applied photography. So anyway, I'll have some articles that you can download and from the conference site. I got the notice as to how to do it yesterday, and I didn't have time to do it last night. But there's a bunch of things that are associated with ANDPPH on the internet, and that's my ANDPPH is Andrew David Hazy. But you can look for me, or David Hazy. There's 2 people that come up. My son Armin, and his got a very snazzy website, and I kind of lame. But I have about 100 articles on simplified approaches to solving photographic problems of various kinds, and I'm more than happy to answer email and get into discussions and so on. Yes, sir.
I was about to say, have you ever played with the new high-speed sync strobes, where you can actually set them to because when the shutter opens, it's only a sliver across the photosensitive plane. That over, I think, on most cameras, over 1/25 of a second,
Right.
it doesn't open.
Yeah.
And to have high-speed sync strobes, which fire off they don't tell you how many times, but you can set it for like a 500th of a second.
Right, you
and
can,
it-
you can shoot, yeah, what
and then
they
you can
do
figure out how many times
is what
it's
focal length shutters used to do, is give you long duration light, allowing for the slit to travel across the focal
Right,
length.
but instead of the strobe, they just fires many times.
Right, it's a strobe, it's a stroboscope.
Right, and I'm thinking now after this, I might want
Olympus
to
was the
try it.
first camera that did that, and they were flashing around 10,000 flashes a second.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm a huge camera.
It's amazing.
I've been taking, actually, that's my kit right here is old adaptive lenses. That's why I love this, the new Olympus came out, Panasonic has an all-in-one version of it, the
Yeah,
minus 4
great.
thirds. You can adapt any lens ever made, even old C-mount lenses, which I have in here. But, I was just thinking about that, listening to you guys. I'm gonna go home and get my high-speed strobe, just to figure out how many times a second it fires when I set it. Is that why you had?
What you can do for that is you can wave the strobe about as you're taking a picture, then you'll spread out the individual flashes.
Oh, okay. So can I get somebody to drop a ping pong ball, the same thing?
That would be the same thing, right? Except that you can pan a camera faster, I guess, than the ball would. But whatever you do, yeah, you get the idea. Photograph something in motion, you get separate
That's what I
images.
was thinking about, throwing a basketball or something, wide angle lens, dark room. And you got me really thinking, because I love, I've been taking photography forever, still do every once in a while, and my teachers always tell me the same thing, like, you're more worried about the technical aspect of it. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's the most fun.
It is fun.
I love being in the dark, doing all the technical, like, I'm worried about the composition, the artistic, I'm like, you know, I like doing, like, I've been taking, once I got my high-speed strobe, got over the summer, I finally was able to afford a nice one. I've been taking pictures of water droplets and just things that I could capture motion. It just, I believe in using technology for the limits. And I like also getting motion, but using the strobe to sort of, you know, you see a blur, but then you got a crystal clear image. When did you stop teaching MIT? A friend of mine graduated.
Just this year.
Oh, I wonder if he took the class. He graduated in industrial arts.
Probably not.
Good one.
Oh, you got me.
What program were your classes?
Photographic technology.
What?
There was actually a degree program.
You're gonna publish it?
No, don't you publish
Oh, I'm not gonna engineer that just
it? Do it
Oh, personal.
personal.
Yeah. I'm gonna share it with him. Is that okay?
Okay.
It's really. Oh, I'm Else. I'm his
I use all the cameras that I settled on this one
know,
because I
I-
can buy cheap lenses and adapt them onto it.
I was like, oh man. So impressive.
Expensive. And the lightweight, that's the key for me now. My camera is like half the weight of that, including the lenses. Everything's going now to mirrorless technology. There's no need for the reflex lens.
That's right. Mirrorless cameras.
Yeah. Even Canon just came out with their version. They had to finally give in to a mirrorless. They just came out with it like 3 months ago.
The 5D is actually mirrorless in live view mode.
Right, well they all are right, but it still has the mirror box, all the extra bulk and weight.
That's true.
And they say the biggest thing is, from an engineering standpoint, when you get rid of that mirror box, any lens wider than 50 millimeters, they have to do a retrofocal design, which creates a larger lens because they have to be a certain distance away. But now they don't have to be, so they can be smaller. Just that I want to build.
Get my thing.
Salvage it from something.
It's a little red box.
She's wearing a green
Those
shirt.
little fans you buy in the summertime at the dollar store.
I don't know. And then there was there was another girl in the garden.
Well, I make it about a 10-degree slit. But let me get L to help me again.
Alrighty, well.
You can watch this. L, you got a second?
Yeah, give me 1 second. What do you need help with?
I need your body.
For what? What do you need me to do?
She's here. She hears that all the time. She just wants to be specific this time.
We got set up for that. And what we're going to do is make a stroboscope.
Don, we gonna take you to lunch today?
Lowering your arms.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get away.
No?
Okay.
You can't leave this room, huh?
How fast?
Away from the back.
Jumping jacks.
Go away from home.
That's good.
It's so
I'm
many.
just waving her arms about like a crazy one.
Oh, no, we'll do it on a regular basis.
Oh, okay.
Got our picture comes in.
So, that's interesting.
But on
I'm
campus.
definitely gonna be checking the website for the transistor. I want to make one from the.
Okay.
There's so many damn old flash
You
drives.
don't
that-
find it, just write them.
Okay.
And David Hayes is kind of easy to remember.
David Hayes.
Hazy. Like Hazy Day.
Ah, gotcha.
David Hazy.
Tell me the best place on campus.
If you go out the staircase,
Yeah. Sheldon Hall?
no, where you go, so you go back out the building, when you get out there where the conference sign is on the fence, go into that reddish brown brick building.
Maybe a little
And go
slow.
through the building, it's a path,
You ready? Get them up there.
and then go into,
And when you hear the click,
you
start
can
them.
walk, you can go into that building.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, you didn't set it on
I had it
both.
on
All the way
both.
down,
Forgot to set it on
there's a
both.
circle down there, you walk toward that circle and go in and down in that building. And then go down the stairs, turn left, go toward.
Okay, start again. Up.
Okay.
So go through that reddish brick building, across the street, and you go toward the big circle that applies.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's
Maybe
not.
let's
You see this?
Go in there and you go down
probably without that light, you can just do it just like now.
Well, it's
and
kind
it's
of
back in underneath that.
No? Maybe open
That's
this.
the ice hockey arena, and it's our new campus.
No, I could open the lens a little bit.
Student
Two
center.
other buildings, and
That's
they've
so
got,
cool.
they got 2 or 3 different little things in there. And upstairs, they got those places on the right where it's burgers and fries, that kind of thing. But downstairs is, might be, you can get it might be a wrap, or it might be rice, and it might be Chinese.
I want a French cafe
Yeah.
with French wine and cheese.
I'll tell you what it is.
I don't know if you need that on.
Without it on,
No,
it's gonna
yeah.
be too dark.
Right.
Indian restaurant, John.
That's funny. I have a. When I took my photo professor, I told everybody use the camera and manual.
I think I'm gonna, I've got
Even focusing.
chicken salad in here.
I'll focus on just for a second.
You're good for like a month.
Put autofocus
I
on.
don't eat those things much anymore. It's all conflicts that you cave in.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So John, did you influence the net zero ambitions that seem to be celebrated outside there with the new campus being built, or new structures?
Well, there might be a little influence in there and talking to the president and that kind of thing way back.
Right.
Recent
Okay, hands up again.
facilities planning for 20 years, so that was
Oops, my mistake.
Right.
required, they were required to take one class, it took about 6 or 7
Right.
independent studies and that. And,
Oh, there we go. Really
out of
crisp.
that, he
That's
got,
awesome.
That's awesome.
so
All right.
he,
So,
Can I take a picture of your picture?
then we had another
you can
guy
picture your
here
picture,
that
absolutely.
was very much into.
Forget it wasn't hooked up to the computer. You need to download it for it. Put it on the web. He's gonna put it on the website so you can download it.
Right.
Was it ever talking?
That's
ever
so
gave
cool.
up that?
So you planted some mind seeds that are now time bombs.
All right, I know what my project is gonna be over winter break.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
See that?
David
Wicked
Hayes.
cool.
David Hughes here.
He has this, what is this called?
Mechanical stroboscope.
And it has a little slit in it, so when it goes around, you hold it open for bulb.
It's kind of like
Man.
it's like really fast quadruplets
Man.
or quintuplet exposure.
Wicked cool.
Right?